Hey traders, this is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day recap for Tuesday, the 23rd. Just looking at the S&P chart, I'll go over some of the things that I talked about in last night's video. We'll talk about some things for today. So we had a nice tradable bounce for the day. This worked pretty well. This kind of just set up. I thought they set up pretty well for some trades this morning. The only trade that I added, swing trades, I think this week. I've been very, very light with trading the last couple days and really practicing what I preach, which has kind of just been a wait and see approach. Have lower than normal positioning and lower than normal positions on, and so that you're able to kind of react to the information on the tape and move very being very nimble and not anchored to any big positions that you have on. This is just my philosophy, and again, this video is for information purposes only, so I'm just kind of telling you what I've been doing. But and I've been pretty successful with that as far as putting on some earnings trades and just really picking spots. I thought today, the sentiment was pretty washed out. I think that traders have developed a little bit of a short-term memory. I don't think a lot of traders remember what a volatile market feels like. So for us to come in, it seemed like this morning I came into the office and I don't know, I saw people tweeting out things like earlier than normal, like things were a different day than any normal. This is just part of trading. It's not, we're going to get market sell-offs sometimes and we're going to get market rallies. But, I think tons of people, tweeting out every thought that they have and so forth. Yeah, this is just business as usual. I'm sorry to say that, and it's nice to kind of be prepared for it, and then and then move quickly when you see opportunities. But yeah, I thought the sentiment was pretty washed out this morning. I think people are really, with some of these earnings reports like Caterpillar, completely unnecessary. I think people are shooting first and looking later. We saw that with the regional banks yesterday. There's been one or two bad regional. Keep in mind with the financials, right? All the big banks have reported, and their earnings were fine. Were they, blow the doors out report like wonderful reports? No, probably not. And I've been underweight banks for a long time. I only really trade the banks when they get super oversold. But the big banks reported, and their earnings were fine. The Bank of Ozark reports bad loan growth, and people go nuts. The Bank of the Ozark. So, and people sell off the whole regional bank index 3% yesterday. That didn't make sense to me. So I think these were due for bounces, and also a lot of this is just technical moves. Clearly that was an overreaction, but I mentioned this had support down here. Same thing with the home builders, which I think is a big overreaction. Do I want to own the home builders here? No, not necessarily. I thought they set up for a bounce trade today. I was talking about them a lot. There has been a move up in interest rates, but the interest rates haven't moved from 2% to 5%. They've moved up about a percentage. TLT was down today, so that alleviates things a little bit when rates. TLT, by the way, gave back. So anyway, in any event, this was nice support. So the move, if you're shorting down here, again support. And why I go through these levels in the videos. But I think most of the money to be made on the short side has been done. I think now you want to be looking for some long plays. XBI, I talked about this one yesterday, bounced right where we thought it would. So again, very technical move. It's holding 80.40, 80.49. Some traders played this in the room today. Really nice move. I do look at IWM as a leading indicator of everything, but keep in mind what's in the IWM. Financials are the biggest weight. So yes, I will always look at IWM as kind of leading market moves. Certainly we saw that to the downside. This still underperformed for the day, still down 90 basis points. So not the best thing. Nice to see a nice hammer bar, and after a gap down, it come in here, but still down for the day. Really, what I like to look at is when XBI turns. That's the equally weighted biotech ETF. That is more of a sense of risk on as well. So this had a nice turnaround. It finished flat for the day after being down, another 2%. So I think that's a good sign. I do think traders are looking for like a perfect tradable bottom. I honestly don't think that you're going to get that. It would be nice if we get a huge move, which, we got a little bit of that this morning. So I classify this as a huge move to the downside? No. But, most downturns, I don't think if light's going to flip and someone is going to turn on a light and tell you that now is the time to go in and start buying things. I think bottoming is a process. And you kind of pick spots where you think things like I thought, things were a little bit going back to my Caterpillar example, kind of ridiculous. What did we learn from the Caterpillar? Some of the headlines that came out that their input costs are going up. Who doesn't know that at this point? So for this for this to go down at like 10% after already moving down from the highs of 145 down to 110 because of things that we kind of already know that are not surprises. They had good numbers. So I thought this was I day traded this a little bit today. I bought some November calls for 4. I got out of them for around $5 today. Same thing with URI, and I like what the halftime guys had to say and girls. I like what Stephanie Link had to say about URI. An analyst put out a bad report after they knocked down their price target because they think something. Meanwhile, the CEO said that they upped their guidance and said business is good. So, could be another bounce trade. It did bounce today. A couple traders played this in the room today for a bounce. Very nice. But this thing is, it's an 18 RSI. So I just think some of these moves are a little bit too dramatic. People are really taking things to the limit in terms of bad news and thinking that, I don't know, people aren't going to do any business anymore. So forget about late stage, early stage, and all that stuff. So what else? So I talked about, I know last weekend I was the only person on Twitter, I think, talking about Walmart. I established my trade yesterday. I think there's more people talking about Walmart today, but we talked about a couple, kind of a cup and handle pattern. This was from our weekend newsletter back on 10/20. But you could see I put this out on the public. I put this out on Friday after market close. I put these charts out, but really set up a nice opportunity, I think, on the weekly chart. As well as the daily chart, which is here. So I did force a target just because in this market, just because a chart pattern looks good, you're not assured of anything in this market right now. So I did force a target in my Walmart trade from yesterday just to take a little bit, but I'm in December calls. This was a nice trade. And then look at the McDonald's trade that we put on as well. Possible earnings trade I mentioned in the weekend newsletter. I really didn't put, this was my only chart best ideas list. And that's what I do until we know what's kind of going on with the market in terms of downside and support and all that. I really practice what I preach. I don't put out too many ideas because I think it's too confusing. But the Walmart gave a nice. I think Walmart might have more to go to the upside. So I took a target leaning long. But look at this McDonald's. So I put on a couple earnings trades. The one I'm perfectly happy to share my winners and my losers. I put on EW. That looks like it's going to be a loser. They guided lower. I also put on ILMN. That one also gave back. Their numbers look good, but I'm not sure. I have to go through to see why they're not raging to the upside. But I think I've been something like 4 for 5 or 5 for 6. I still have one trade on from yesterday, which is Biogen, where I sold put spreads. So this one I'm going to be holding for another day or two, but this McDonald's trade was a crusher that we put on today. So very pleased. So I've been talking about in the last couple days, previous videos about, trading more earnings because I think earnings are setting up for good trades. So I, again, following through on what I've been talking about, and it's been working pretty well. So very pleased. how this week, not just today, but how this week has been going, and positioning lighter, and then lunging and going after it when you see setups that you really like. Apple is the last one. That's one I've been talking about the last couple days. I think a really good looking candle. This held in pretty well. It looked like it wanted to rally yesterday, but of course, kind of just got sold off with everything else. But this is a name I would watch for tomorrow. This is a name that we've been all over the last couple days. All right, guys, thanks very much for watching. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.